and let us all do we can to build a better future. Everyone, don't panic. The world's on fire. Climate change is a very real threat, but don't panic. It's okay. We could somehow survive. But, oh, wait, our infrastructure is falling apart. You have Congress saying that no to any kind of trillion-dollar budgetary plan. But let's face it. The more we ignore the threat of climate change, the more we ignore the threat of these super hurricanes, these superstorms, these heat waves, these forest fires, it's going to severely impact us as a country. And this is going to be a global, worldwide problem. And humanity as a whole needs to be ready to face it. And we need leaders to step up and address the real threat of climate change. And let's remember that it was in the 60s and early 70s where the fossil fuel industries knew the dangers of big fossil fuels were doing to our planet's ecosystem. They knew about it. And because of their negligence, because of something that they chose to ignore, all of us now are paying the consequences. Here's a video from Case Study QB. Be sure to follow him on Twitter. For some reason, Twitter is censoring his page, but please support him and check out his YouTube channel and Odyssey page. Let's play this video because let's face it, folks, this is our normal.
Extreme temperatures fueling infernos across the West. In California, more than twice as many acres have burned compared to the same time last year, triggering evacuations in the northern part of the state. The Beckworth Complex fire this weekend doubling in size. Photographer Craig Philpott captured the intense conditions as a small town burned.
It's just weeks and weeks and weeks drier than it should be this time of year.
The fire season not only prematurely ferocious, but also deadly. In Arizona, retired fire chief Jeff Pichura and pilot Matthew Miller were killed in an air accident. The scorching temperatures threatening nearly 30 million Americans across the West, with thermostats soaring 10 to 20 degrees above average.
Miserable.
On Saturday, Utah tied its all-time hottest statewide record, a sizzling 117 in St. George, the same temperature as Las Vegas, also matching a Sin City record.
You're in an oven.
The extreme heat pushing the region's extreme drought to historic levels, reducing water deliveries across the West, with reservoirs hitting new lows. In Utah, one reservoir has completely run dry.
This year is something different. This is something I've never seen before.
Let's bring in meteorologist Bill Cairns. And Bill, usually covering different weather events, people say, oh, it's never been this bad. But this seems extreme, like never seen before.
Yeah, I mean, we're in mega drought category. Some people are calling this like a decade-long drought. And then it feeds itself because the soil is so dry, it heats up more rapidly. And then with climate change thrown on top of it, it's even worse than it should be. I mean, we have 95% of the West that's in a drought right now. This time last year, it was only 40%. I mean, that's just a ridiculously high number. And this weekend, Death Valley, it's always hot. But this was incredibly hot. Friday, it was 130. So the all-time record is 134, but that was with an old device, an old type of thermometer. The reliable heat records with the standards that we have now, the 130 is the hottest, what we call reliable temperature ever recorded on Earth.
Wow. Okay, look, let's be very clear. The fossil fuel industry has bought our politicians. Our politicians, both Democrat and Republican, have chosen to kick the can down the road. These are our leaders that assumed that everything was going to be A-okay. It's all right. It's all okay, but it's not. And the thing is, a lot of these cities and communities, especially on the West Coast, are built in areas that are now, dare I say it, no longer sustainable for human civilization.
I would argue a few of them are already not sustainable, but, it's just...
The sad fact is that this all could have been stopped. We could have stopped this if we actually had political leaders who had the courage to not be corrupted. But let's face it, in the United States, where money is speech and corporations are people, the fossil fuel industry, just like all these other corporations and lobby groups, were able to buy off our politicians because our politicians are, well, they're lower than dirt. They're people who are more than willing to sell out everything that they care about just to earn a quick buck. But let's talk about real heroes, people who we are going to need in this fight. Hashtag free Stephen Donziger. This gentleman, again, has been under house arrest for more than 2 years. And the reason why he's under house arrest is because, again, he won a key victory against Chevron after they polluted the indigenous communities in Ecuador, severely impacting the environmental ecosystems in that entire country. And here's something interesting that Stephen Donziger tweeted out. Breaking. My private prosecutor, Rita Galvin, was caught in a major corruption scandal that led to the dismissal of a high-profile case she supervised. Galvin was held evidence just like she's doing in my prosecution. The extent of the corruption was shocking. Faze, if we can we zoom in on that image right there?
Let's see this face.
Let's see this individual. Wow. Is there any way we could get a bigger picture of that?
There we go.
All right.
Enhance.
So, Faze, could you kindly please read that comment section in there?
According to the exhaustive study ordered by Judge Emmett Sullivan, government attorneys such as Matthew Friedrich, Rita Glavin, Brenda Morris engaged in systematic concealment.
Thank you, Faze.
Thank you, Faze. Now, let's go ahead and pull up another tweet as well. And again, let's zoom in on this little tweet right here. So it's interesting again.
Can I just really quickly read this? This is very much a lot of my take on all this generally anyway. And I think James Root has it exactly. These are the moves of a desperate class of people slowly losing control.
Absolutely. And see, the thing is, our politicians, they knew about this, but they just assumed everything was going to be fine because they don't have the imagination, the courage, or intelligence to realize that the world will always be changing. That's why I'm against these politicians who are what, in their 80s and 90s? They're from a different time.
They're even generally speaking, most of the people that are in Congress and Senate are silent generation.
Yeah.
Which is
they got to go. They don't have what it takes to lead anymore. And if that offends people, I'm talking about both Democratic and Republican lawmakers.
To quote our previous comment from James Root, they're slowly losing control as they slowly die off with their A-plus health care.
Yeah, with health care that they have for them and their families while the rest of us suffer. Let's bring up another tweet from Stephen Donziger. Here, everyone's favorite governor, New York Governor Cuomo, that guy, remember him, is using my Chevron Finance private prosecutor, Rita Galvin, who has a history of ethic problems, to defend against sexual misconduct allegations. Part of her job is to attack the courageous women who came forward. Abusers often hire abusers to get in their way. Let's face it, Stephen Donziger is a hero. We need more people like him. And this woman, Rita Galvin, is defending, oh, that's right, everyone's favorite governor. Everyone, remember Cuomo-sexuals? Hey, Cuomo-sexuals, remember that 8 women heroically came forward to speak out against his abuse, his harassment to them.
Isn't it amazing how, like, when any time a single woman goes out against the GOP, regardless of what they say, move on and the likes, they're like, this is terrible. And NBC, this is terrible. This is unacceptable. And it's like if they go out and then a dozen women talk about Joe Biden, almost a dozen women talk about Cuomo. Well, this is not a real story. Don't look this way. These women. It's almost as if they don't care about the women that are being attacked and they only care about maintaining their political stance.
Yep. And again, let's be very clear here. Mother Nature is a force to be reckoned with. And one day it will shake us off like a bad case of fleas. And as far as I'm concerned, we need fighters like Stephen Donziger, free from house arrest. Hashtag free Donziger.
I really hope that he's able to put together a wonderful lawsuit against the U.S. and another one against Exxon. Or he's
Chevron,
probably whatever.
Yeah.
All
of them are the same. All fossil fuel industries are the same to us.
Yeah.
That's right. We are anti-fossil fuels.
Well, you know what? I'm not going to even say that. I'm going to say we're pro-green energy. Because I'm going to be honest. We did need fossil fuels a while back to get up to the point where we could build solar panels. Not going to deny it, but they need to go now. So just to make sure you see, just to see that we are very consistent and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. So in other words, the planet is heating up. Where all these weird firestorms, these super
America,
hurricanes.
We'd like you to take in 20 million of our refugees thanks to your industrial pollution.
Madness and stupidity. And this all, again, could have been avoided.